Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, MrBooMStickXL, and I want to thank everybody for taking the time to spend 2 full hours of an action-packed show that I put together for you. And of course, every topic is pure fire. I think I hear an echo. Somebody might have something open. Anyway, let me just continue. Before we get into the show, and of course, my famous intros, I have to thank the outstanding community, especially the Patreon supporters, and I want to give them a public shout out before we do anything. And I want to start with Alfonso Hogan, Josette Rivera, of course, my wife, Casket Repair, The Only One Left, Defunct Jester, Dave, LMNOP, Frederick Jackson, J-Force Games, Jim Jordan, Chaos Theory, Lethal Papa, Mark Devlin, Mental 9R Gamer, Ricardo Willis, Robert Olson, Scrub Nurse, Stubbs Gaming, Tempest, and last but not least, Timothy Woods. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for all of the outstanding support. But let's get into, of course, the outrageous community members that I have sitting in their seats today to talk about some of the most important gaming news that's come out this week. And first up, you know him as a Breakfast with Boom regular and permanent panel member. You know him also as a gaming ambassador, content creator extraordinaire, gamer with a big heart for the community, and showrunner of his outstanding YouTube channel, and also someone I'm hoping will eventually play Resident Evil 2. Please welcome RPD Officer Zemi.
Thank you so much, Boom. I don't think the chances of Resident Evil 2 are going to happen anytime soon. But thank you so much. Super excited to be here. Can't wait to jump into all these topics. So thank you so much.
It's always great to have you, dude. And of course, I always like playing around with that because, Semi will not play Resident Evil 2 if his life depended on it.
No, it's not going to happen.
But next, we have an excellent community member who listen, I'm going to say this. He is a gamer who will not be denied when playing through Destiny on the hunt for a rare piece of armor. His biggest arch nemesis in gaming currently is his monster-sized backlog. He is an essential part of the Basement Radio Arcade podcast, my inside source to everything GameStop. Please welcome Gaming Forte, a.k.a. The Siren. Gaming Forte, you there, brother?
Man. Oh man, you went back in the archive, man.
I did. I brought it all the way back.
I was like, yeah, that's back in the archive right there. Yeah, Borderlands is coming out next month, guys. Can't wait for that. But man, that's an incredible intro as always, sir. Always look forward to not only my intro, just what you do for everybody else. But yeah, man, this is gonna be a great show. Can't wait to chalk it up with everybody in here. Really appreciate the invite as always, Boom.
Oh, dude, it's always great to work with you. Like I said, you and just about everybody on that show, I'm a big fan of, and I super enjoy working with you guys. And let's move on to the next community member. Speaking of community members, he exemplifies what it means to be an incredible human being, an old school gamer who can destroy you in Mortal Kombat with one hand, literally. A talented artist with skills and ideas for days, and the showrunner of the awesome Retro Renegades. Please welcome the Graphic God.
Hello, everybody. It's been a long time coming since I've been on the show, and when Boom sent out the Boom signal, I answered, and I was very happy to be here. I'm on vacation. It's a perfect opportunity for me, and can't wait to get into these topics. But thank you very much, Boom. That was amazing as normal.
Oh, I appreciate it very much, and it's great to work with you. Again, as if everyone doesn't know, Jay is the creator and owner of the outstanding XboxGamerPicks.com. He is responsible for all of my show's work. His artwork is second to none. His information will, of course, be in the show notes. And if you're interested and you want someone to design a logo for your YouTube channel or for your personality on Twitter as an avatar, there is nobody better in the business and more reasonably priced and professional than the Graphic God. So I say get over there if you're interested and just look at what he's done on my channel. and the work basically speaks for itself. But next, I have to talk about a returning community member whose "Let's Go" excitement battle cry has been known on these YouTube streets, and I love when he does it on his videos. His passion for gaming is unmatched, his love for JRPGs cannot be denied, and his video game music making skills has no equal. Please welcome Nintendo Direct.
Hey, let's go.
There it is. That's what I'm waiting for.
Let's go. Yes. I mean, I'm excited to be here, man. I'm excited to be here, and I can't wait to talk about these topics. Thanks for having me back. Sorry I missed the last one. Had some personal issues.
Don't be silly, dude.
But, I'm glad to be here, and I'm ready to get to these topics, man.
Yeah, man. And, of course, you must be happy because football season started. I mean, Seattle Seahawk football is down for you.
Starting, man. I can't wait. There's a bunch of shows coming, anime shows coming out. It's about to be good. Life's about to be good. I mean, life's good already, but
yeah,
it's about to be way.
Nice. Well, listen, it's great to have you. Always enjoy working with you and love what you do on your show. And last, and in no way least, he is the creator of the Gaming Beyond the Box YouTube channel. He's a huge horror movie junkie. He's a diehard gamer with skills to match, and he considers himself the gaming mouth from the South. And making his Breakfast with Boom debut, please welcome Wilmy Hood.
Well, thank you, Mr. Boom. I'm glad to be here, and most people's probably got tired of hearing my voice this week. This is my 5th podcast in 5 days. But I'm eager to be here. Jay and I go back a pretty good ways. Some of these guys I've never talked to before, but I can't wait to jump in.
Well, it's great to have you. It really is great to work with you for the first time. I've heard you on Salty's show. As a matter of fact, last night's Saltiest podcast, which was fantastic. And it's great to have you now added to the long list of community members and content creators that have been on Breakfast with Boom. And of course, I, as the creator of this show, am very honored to work with every one of you. And of course, I have to thank the amazing chat that is filing. We're at 40 folks, and hopefully we can get to that 100 magic mark by the end of the show. I'm just gonna before we get into the topics, just say this: if you are enjoying it, please do me a favor and do hit that like button on your way in or out. Trust me when I tell you, press the button. It's not like getting a needle. It's not going to hurt. But if you're not enjoying it, I highly recommend that you hit the thumbs down button. Hit me up in a DM and say, Boom, I didn't like this, and we will try and rectify that. But let's get into the first topic. Now, this one I did is a little bit of a throwback, and I did that because Jay is in the chat, on the panel today, and he's an old school cat, just like myself, and we remember where we came from. And the first topic is going to be talking about the TurboGrafx 16 Mini, the Genesis Mini, and the rumored and basically confirmed new Neo Geo that will be releasing at the end of the year. I'm absolutely stoked. I mean, first of all, there's something to be said about talking about where gaming came from. And it's also safe to say that regardless of how great Gears 5 is, The Last of Us 2 is, Luigi's Mansion 3 is going to be, it's always, for me anyway, nice to revisit the classics. And that's exactly what some of us, I say, will be doing later this year. The TurboGrafx 16 is a console both my brother Neo Mental and I loved as kids, and it holds a place in our hearts through and through. And here is, there's going to be 50 games, okay? I want you to understand that 50 games coming with this $100 console. Now, 24 of those games are, of course, the TurboGrafx 16, which is the American version, and the Japanese version, it was called the PC Engine, and we're getting 26 of those games. Now, I didn't want to list them all because it would really just take away from the show, but I did note some really fantastic titles, and I'm going to go around the room and get everyone's opinion on this. The titles that stand out for me anyway as a gamer, of course, right out of the gate is Dracula X. That did not come to the States as far as I remember, because I still have the import copy. Military Madness is fantastic. One of my brother's favorite games. R-Type, Ninja Spirit, Blazing Lasers, and Alien Crush, just to name a few. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, of course, I want to go to my chat. I'm going to start with Jay. I want to start with you, Jay. What are your thoughts on the Neo Geo coming back in the form of a mini?
Oh, day one for sure.
Yeah.
Neo Geo was something that I didn't buy at the time because of the price. You know, everyone knows back then the Neo Geo was basically an arcade emulator.
Yes.
And you were spending $700 on a console and $100 plus per game. I was in college when that came out, and I was a poor college student. Of course, I was lucky I still had my.
Everybody's poor in college.
I was lucky. I was lucky I could afford Sega Genesis games, which I had an abundance of. Yeah, day one for me, Neo Geo. Cannot wait to get into those games. It's just like it's kind of, this is like a dream come true. Think about it. You know, we're getting all of these minis. We're getting we have the SNES, we have the NES, we're getting the Sega. There's so many possibilities for us older gamers to kind of relive our youth again, and that's what I've been doing for years now. You know, like it's nostalgia is something that everybody holds on to, and me, and I think everyone here that's a little older like us, we all want our youth back, and this is a way that we can actually do it and, you know, feel great about it. And as gamers, you know, you couldn't live in a better time, really.
Yeah, no, real quick, before I move on to the next panel member, I just kind of want to bring up that, because you said you brought up the Genesis, and I actually was going to do a round robin, but I'd rather just talk about it and then move on and then just get your opinion. First of all, if you're in the chat and you didn't know, the Sega Genesis Mini is going to have 42 titles. And
and they're bangers.
And they are bangers, Jay. And I'm going to come right back to you, because here it's releasing on September 19th for $80. That is a day one for me. I was a huge Genesis fan. I remember Tommy Lasorda Baseball, Altered Beast. The list goes on and on how amazing that console is. But look, I just took a few games that I added to the list, and it was hard to pick because, like Jay said, the titles in this, they are no joke, folks. They are legit bangers from start to finish. So here is just a small list, and Jay, I'm going to come back to you, okay? First of all, Castlevania Bloodlines. That is a Castlevania that was amazing, that most people currently have never even heard of. Then, of course, you have Sonic the Hedgehog. We've all played it. They have Street Fighter Championship Edition, which was really, really good on the Genesis. Contra Hardcores. A lot of people never even know what that is. That's a fantastic addition to the Contra series. Shinobi 3 was amazing. Earthworm Jim, Strider, classic Strider is in there, and Gunstar Heroes, just to name a few. Jay, what are your thoughts on the Genesis Mini, and is it, of course, another day one buy for you?
Oh, it's not only a day one buy. I pre-ordered it. I bought the 6-button wireless.
Nice, very nice.
And I also bought the adapter, which is sitting next to me, so I can play this wirelessly from my couch when I plug it into my big 4K television. When it's not plugged into my streaming PC, because I'll be streaming those games as well. But yeah, no, amazing games. I remember buying Street Fighter Championship Edition when it came out, because that was a big bragging rights for Nintendo back in the day. They were the first ones to get Street Fighter, and I thought, oh, I'll never get to play because I didn't own an SNES at that time. And then when it came out for Sega Genesis, I was in college. I took a bus an hour away to go to the store that had it, and I spent $100. That's how much that game cost. Wow. $100 back in 1993, maybe it was.
Wow.
And $100, you know, this was coming out of my book money that I should be buying books with.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah. That's and I got home and I started playing it, and you know, I loved it. The only major issue with that game compared to the SNES version was that the audio chip on the Sega Genesis wasn't as good. So some of the voices kind of sound a little grovelly, I guess you could say. But
yeah, yes, I agree.
Great game. Loved it. But all those games, they're all bangers. Every one of them, I think I owned. Every one of them were amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's listen, I got to be honest with you. It is a real treat for not only the older community, but certainly the younger. Maybe they started out in the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 era. Maybe that's where a lot of the listeners started out with. Maybe a Sega Dreamcast, maybe a GameCube, and they didn't get a chance to experience the 8 and 16-bit era that we look so fondly back. Nintendo Direct, I want to go to you because, being a Nintendo fan, I know that you obviously support multiple consoles, but you obviously, you're basically, Nintendo's in your name. And if you remember way back in the Wii days, Nintendo did something unbelievable about bringing their classics forward to allow newer gamers who were just buying the Wii to experience some of the old stuff. And sometimes most of them were okay. They were pretty good. Well, they were good ports, and some of them were not so much. But when you look at what's happening in 2019 and in 2020, where we're going to get a Sega Genesis Mini, we're going to get a TurboGrafx Mini, and we're getting a new console from Neo Geo, from SNK, that could be a combination of both a mini, including their vast library of games, and whatever new they're going to release. As a gamer who has a history, does that excite you?
Yeah, man, it excites me. I think it's pretty cool. When Nintendo came out with the NES Classic and the Super NES Classic, and then the PlayStation came out with theirs, but we're not gonna talk about that one. But whenever those two came out and they were instant success, I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't think that they would be a success like they were. I didn't think that people would want to play these retro games like that. I didn't think people would go out, in mobs and get these things. Literally, people were out grabbing these things and you couldn't find them anywhere. Like, I just thought it was crazy. And so now, everybody is now putting out their mini console. I'm not, I don't remember much of the TurboGrafx. I don't remember. Neo Geo was never a Neo Geo guy. Oh, like you said, my parents were like, "Yeah, that's not happening." Like,
yeah.
But me, I grew up right between the NES and the Super NES era. So I remember the Sega Genesis. My cousin had one. I had the Super Nintendo. We would go back and forth to each other's houses playing one console or the other. That's how we got our gaming fix in. Was one had one had the other. But I'm really excited for the Sega Genesis. I don't know if it's a day one purchase. But I'm looking at this games list, man, and a bunch of these games are like Jay said, bangers, bro. Bangers, like good memories. Toe Jam and Earl.
Yes.
Castle of Illusion was a big one that I played. And I remember that they came out with that remake for the in the Xbox Arcade for the 360, and it was not good. And I was
It was not good. That is correct. Yeah, it was
satisfied. But Castle of Illusion's a big one. World of Illusion, Fantasy Stars on that list.
Yep.
Eternal Champions. Like, there's a lot of good games on this list that makes it very intriguing. I am very much forward looking to see how this does and how it sells. Now, as far as Neo Geo, like I said, never touched Neo Geo. That wasn't my thing, but very excited for Sega Genesis. This games list is unreal.
Yeah, it's exciting to see the classics making a comeback, because in my opinion, gaming did start with sticks and dots. I got a chance to experience that. I am the old bastard in the room, and I'm okay with that. That's fine. But I tell a story all the time. 78, my pop came home with the Atari 2600 and 2 games, and back then that was a big deal. You know what I'm saying? That was a really, really, really big deal. And to see a lot of the younger Fortnite generation that's currently been playing the last, 2 or 3 years since Fortnite came out and became a thing, they don't understand, and they probably won't appreciate it. But for instance, my nephew Tyler, right? The minute he came out, he had a controller in his hand. I got pictures of it. He got a big old 360 controller in his hand, and he's a kid that goes back and plays Mario 1. He appreciates where Nintendo comes from. He doesn't say it like that, but he's like, he can go from playing, Mario 1 and go play the Mario Odyssey, and he's perfectly okay with that. Not everyone does that, but it's really interesting.
You raised that boy well.
I thank you. I appreciate that's very kind of you to say. I'm very happy with that. I want to go to Gaming Forte because, why I like working with Gaming Forte, besides being a diehard gamer, he has an inside scoop and he can tell stories because he obviously works for GameStop. And it's important that, we get his perspective, during the sales, and you were there for the sale of the the SNES Mini and the NES Mini, that you couldn't keep them in stock. And I got a funny feeling that this is going to happen the same thing, especially with the Genesis. The Genesis, I think, is as popular as the NES is going to be. The TurboGrafx, maybe not as much, but what are your excitement levels for all three of these new consoles?
Yeah, man, I'm super excited for all three of them. I can tell you, especially around the Genesis, I know we've been taking pre-orders on it for about a good month and a half now, or probably 2 months now. And I know in my store in particular, last time I looked at it, which was about a week ago, we were somewhere around like 43 pre-orders on it.
Wow.
So there's a lot of interest in that system and stuff. Not gonna say it was as big as Nintendo because Nintendo just
they're Nintendo
money when it comes to that system and when they bring out their new things. But the Genesis is the one that I'm excited for all three. I own a Genesis. I own the TurboGrafx 16. I never owned a Neo Geo, and I think it's going to probably be the most consistent thing on this panel because parents
they said no to Neo Geo.
No. I had a friend. I did have a friend that had one, and it was the most incredible thing ever. Just watching VCR tapes go into an actual system. It's really crazy.
That's great.
$150 each. It was like, oh man. It was like, oh man, that was just like just seeing the system was an experience. It was like going to a museum. But no, I'm excited for all of them. The fact that these games lists are getting better and better. They're starting to realize, I think after the PlayStation Mini came out, or PlayStation Classic came out, these manufacturers are realizing that, hey, if we want to really sell these consoles, we have to put really, really good, compelling games in there.
You got to put the work in. Yes.
Yeah, you got to put the work in. You can't just put the B tier and a couple of A tiers in there. You got to kind of knock it out the park. And I know that was the part of where the PlayStation kind of fell short, is because they didn't put enough bangers in there. They put some, but not enough. And especially at the price point that they put it at.
Now you can pick it up for like $20, which I'm going to do. I'm going to pick it up just to put it on the shelf.
Oh yeah,
everybody's picking it up now.
It dropped to $29.99, and I picked it up probably a couple of weeks ago. I was like, I'm not paying $100 for this, but $30, yeah, definitely do that. But these are all day one buys for me, especially the Neo Geo, just because I've never owned it, and it's going to be another opportunity for me to kind of just go back and relive some of the childhood that I kind of missed out on because parents, like I said, aren't rich.
Yeah.
But
I got a funny story I'm going to tell as soon as you're done.
No, yeah, go ahead. I want to hear this.
Well, listen, I am proud and honored to say that not only did Mr. Boomstick own the Neo Geo with 23 games.
Good Lord.
Okay.
That makes no
I
sense.
owned the Neo Geo CD at the same time with 17 games. So I had a total of 40 plus games for both Neo Geos. And so you're saying, boom, you're rich. I knew it. I knew it all along. You got a silver spoon in your mouth. No. Here is the story behind that. In Co-op City in the Bronx, where Play World used to be. You have to be an old bastard to remember what Play World is. It was like a Toys R Us, but for the 70s and 80s. When that went under, they built a flea market up there. And flea markets have stuff that sometimes they have a little dust on them. You got to clean them up. I came across a video game counter that had the Neo Geo games for $10 a piece. The carts.
Cool.
And they had. I went back every week after delivering papers. I would deliver the penny saver, and I would take my allowance because I was a kid, and I would bargain with them. I say, listen, I'll buy 3, but can you give it to me for $8 a piece instead of 30? And I was able to get. I bought every game that they had, which was a total of 23 Neo Geo games. Everything from Baseball Stars to Samurai Showdown. I had them all. I had two controllers. I had the system, And like I said, it's when I tell you I've owned every system that's ever released, and I'm not rich, folks. I used to hustle. I mean, really hustle. No drugs hustle. I'm talking about like you work your fingers to the bone. Work with my dad on Saturdays to deliver paper, whatever I could to get paid for video games. I did it. That was, of course, the legal way to do things. So I'm happy to say that I actually grew up being a Neo Geo kid, even though I wasn't rich. But I'm interested to Zemi. Now here's the thing, Zemi, you're the youngest dude here. You're 26 years old, and I still, but even with your age, you still have an appreciation for where the industry has come from. And for you, who may not have played the Genesis, you may not even know what a TurboGrafx 16 is, and Neo Geo may not mean anything to you. Do you think that it's pretty awesome that near the end of 2019, these classic consoles are coming back in a big way?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely awesome, and it's great for, like the younger generation to experience something that they never really got the chance to, and it's great for the older, generation to have that little bit of nostalgia. Now I did actually play a Sega Genesis. I was probably like 7 years old or something.
Okay.
And they had one at the orthodontist or like the dental
That's
like
great.
office.
I love it.
And so I would like sit in the floor and I would play like Sonic, and there was like another game there. I don't even remember the name of it, but I would play that game as well. And then, I did play a lot of like the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Not as much as I played of PlayStation and stuff like that, because back in the day I was, outside riding my bike, playing with other kids and stuff like that. So I didn't really play a tremendous amount of games for like the, Super Nintendo. But, I do have a little tiny piece of nostalgia in me. And so I am happy to see that they are releasing these like mini consoles. The only thing for me, though, that would actually keep me from buying one of them is, if I want to play, like the most common thing that I would want to probably play is like a Super Nintendo, because I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea what a TurboGrafx 16 or a Neo Geo is. I've never heard of those.
Okay.
Before last night, whenever I was reading over the show notes, I have no idea. But if I wanted to play like a Super Nintendo, I'm fortunate enough to still have my old one. So I would just plug that in, or, get some adapters to plug it in through HDMI, and I would just play it like that. And that's one thing that actually really does kind of bother me about these mini consoles. I like how they're coming out. I like how they have a bunch of games on them. But instead of them just having the games on them, I really wish that they would kind of in some way remake the console and then release cartridges that you could buy. That way you could choose what games you would want and all that different stuff, right? Another thing that really kind of bothers me is I don't know if the original Xbox is too new of a console to like do a remake for, but I would love to see them remake the original Xbox console.
Me too. There was talk of a mini for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's up with Xbox and why they don't want to do that type of stuff. I mean, I guess they kind of somewhat did it with the Duke controller that they released. And with all the backwards compatible Xbox original games on the Xbox One now, but I don't know. I would really like to see it. And I don't know. I just really hope that these mini consoles blow up in popularity and they eventually do create a console that you put in the cartridge and everything like that. Just because, for me personally, it's more nostalgic to actually put that cartridge in the game. Like today's time, I don't want to put a disc in my console because that's I buy all my stuff digital. But whenever playing games like that, I want to actually put the cartridge in the console, and I want to see
he wants to blow into it.
Thank you, guys.
I want to also make a tutorial video showing all these young kids how to get their game to work, and me just blowing into the cartridge.
Right.
I want that to be a thing.
He wants to kick the console. He wants to blow in it. He wants to do that. Right. Half put it in, half not put it in.
Yes. Where you're scratching off the sticker, trying to get you bring it just to the edge.
That,
oh my god, yeah, that's classic. That's.
I want to see that type of like nostalgia bring back to it. I want like these little kids to be like, my game's not working, and then they come up, to their dad, and their dad just like blows in it and sticks it in, and it, he turns it on and it works, and they're like, oh my god. That's so primitive, right? But I want to see that type of thing come back, and that's like a big thing I have, like a big critique I have with these mini consoles is that you're not going to get that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's been Genesis iterations that allow you to put a card in. but they're a little bit more expensive because they're technically building the classic system. And there's plenty of places to find that. But I agree with you. I think that it would be great to have a combination of both. You get the classic console, like for instance. There's a game that's not on the TurboGrafx. It's called Bloody something. Not Bloody Raw. It's not a fighting game. It was like a Contra game. And I cannot, the name escapes me, and it's not on there. And I was like, oh, man, that's one of my favorite games. It's not on there. And if it was built where I could go out and buy the card, because that's what they were. They weren't cartridges. They were like they were cards for the TurboGrafx 16. That was amazing. Real quick though, I have to thank Elemental P with the outstanding $5 super chat, and he really brings it back. Why couldn't the TurboGrafx Express be redone instead of the mini console? And if you don't know what the Express is, it was basically the premium edition of what a Game Boy should have been. It had a full color screen. It was this big thick black thing that if you hit somebody you'd murder them, and it was a handheld though. It was amazing. Oh my god, that is so good.
Are you talking about Bloody Wolf?
Bloody Wolf, yes! Thank you, sir. Oh my god. Bloody Wolf was so freaking good. And it was like a top-down, it had top-down levels, it had side-scrolling levels. It was amazing. And it's not one of the games. I was actually a little disappointed, but Wilmy Hood, I want to get you because, of course, we talked prior to going live, and you are an older gamer like myself, so you, of course, appreciate where we all came from and what we currently have, and I think that's the amazing magic of gaming. Right? You can look at if you think about how technology has expanded since the 80s with the NES to what we're playing now, it's not that big of a stretch. It's only, you know what I'm saying? It's only about 30 or 40 years, give or take 40-ish years. And the leap has been incredible. What are your takes on the fact that these classic consoles are not only coming back, Wilmy, but coming back and being done right?
Well, it may be an unpopular opinion. I grew up playing a lot of these, the Geo, the Sega, the Genesis. I'm really not that thrilled about it. I know this sounds bad. I didn't spend all this money on 4K TVs, a PC from Origin, to go back and play games I played 25 years ago. I do play some here and there, some of the older games. I go back to Streets of Rage on occasion, Street Fighter, but I have an emulator on my PC that I do most of it through. I look more forward to the new stuff coming out. I'm into the graphics now, and sometimes nostalgia is a pretty odd thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear what you're saying for sure. And anything else that you want to add to it, Wilmy?
That's really about it.
Okay, listen, again, to each is everyone's own, right? The guy, obviously, you know what it is, the difference, I think, Wilmy, is that because you've had the ability to play with an emulator, a lot of people didn't. I never did. I had the ability to do it, I just never did personally because I thought for me, it cheapened the game. I guess maybe I'm a nerd like that. Like, I want to hold the Genesis controller in my hand to play a Genesis game. I want to hold the TurboGrafx 16 controller to play something on TurboGrafx because it brings me back to when I was sitting in front of the TVs you actually have to get up and shut off.
When you were actually remote.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
They have USB Super Nintendo and USB Sega Genesis controllers out there, man.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they do. And you know what? It's again. It for each is everyone's own. But listen, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because obviously we're already 30 minutes into the show, and I just wanted to open up the show with something fun. I hope everybody enjoyed it in the chat. Of course, everybody on the panel had something awesome to say. But I want to move on to the next topic. And keeping with classics, there's one franchise that has seen iterations that span ton of arcade cabinets, home console releases on every system dating all the way back to the Genesis and Super Nintendo, and are still being released currently on this generation's hardware known as the PlayStation 4. And of course, I'm talking about Street Fighter V. So you say, well, boom, wait a second. I don't understand. What are we talking about Street Fighter V? The game is old as hell. Well, listen. Evo 2019 happened last weekend. A lot of drama out of that regarding, the PlayStation, and of course they had a couple of times where games were booted out, especially more specifically Tekken 7 during a championship match. Not cool. But the reason why I bring up Street Fighter V is because they announced some new characters coming, and if you've never played Street Fighter V on the PlayStation 4. This game, Street Fighter V, I'm sorry, it released on February 16th of 2016, and I was so excited. Of course, in Boom fashion, I bought the collector's edition that comes with the Ryu statue, which is gorgeous. But I was slightly bummed because, of course, it really was talk about a poor release. It was poorly released. It was extremely unfinished. Of course, it was exclusive to the PlayStation 4, which, it's Street Fighter. I kind of feel that it should be on multi-plat. We're going to get into that in a second. And I was so excited. Not only did I buy the PlayStation 4 Collector's Edition with the Ryu statue, but I also bought the Street Fighter V, Collector's Edition Fight Stick that was $300, and I still have it. And of course, it works amazing. It's a great fight stick. And when right before Evo 2019 happened, there was this very, very solid rumor that Street Fighter 6 was going to be announced. There was going to be a trailer, and that it was going to be announced by Sony, of course, as being a console exclusive once again. And that didn't happen. And I kind of just want to rewind time back a little bit because obviously today's topic isn't about Street Fighter 5. It's about Street Fighter 6. And there's no doubt that it's in development at Capcom because they have already confirmed that it's in development. And considering the Japanese developer has seen huge success on a level only seen on the NES days with such titles, multi-plat titles, by the way, of Resident Evil 7, Monster Hunter Worlds, Resident Evil 2 Remake, and of course, Devil May Cry 5. And if the glaring difference with all of these successful titles, like I said in the opening, is that they're all multi-plat. Now, with that said, Capcom wants their games on as many consoles as possible, and I honestly believe that Street Fighter 6 will, in fact, be on the Xbox One, as well as PC, and, of course, the PlayStation 4 or 5, whenever it comes out, because Capcom wants to make money. Now, again, here's the thing: if you don't know, and this is very sad for me as a person that grew up playing Street Fighter. As of today's show, okay, the game released in 2016. It is currently only sold about 2.5 million copies on a PlayStation 4 console, and that includes PC, by the way, that has 100 million console sales that they announced. That's disgusting. That is 2.5%, and if you cut it in half to figure, let's just say 1% bought it on PC, that leaves only 1.5 million copies. That's 1.5% sold on the PlayStation 4, which is the cool system, right? It's the most played system. It's got the most sales. It's got the most gamers. It's got the best first party exclusives, right? And only 1.5 million copies sold. That's disgusting. So if I'm going to be honest with you, and again, if it comes out exclusively for the PS4 or PS5, of course, Boom is going to buy it. And if there's a collector's edition with a statue, rest assured I'm going to buy that too. But I would rather play it on the Xbox One, whether it's this one or the Scarlet, whatever year it comes out. And I want to go to, of course, my panel on this. And Jay, I want to start with you first because obviously, a lot of these topics I kind of built around you being on the show because, one, I respect you as a human being, but more specifically, I respect the hell out of you for being the classic gamer you are. In your opinion, do you think that it better suits Capcom's financial plans after the poor sales of Street Fighter V to release it when it comes out as a multi-plat?
Yeah, if they didn't learn a lesson from that first mistake of only putting Street Fighter V out on the PlayStation, then if they haven't learned, then they deserve to fail again. Because as a Street Fighter fan, I was very disappointed that I couldn't play that game. I had to wait for it to come out on PC, and even then, when it did come out on PC, my PC wasn't really strong enough to play it properly. So it was playing pretty jerkily. I
That
guess.
sucks.
You know, my computer is up to date now, but at the time I was very upset. I wanted to play that game. I owned an Xbox. I still don't own a PlayStation. But yeah, if they don't put it out on every system that they can, which Nintendo has proven that it doesn't matter if you have to lower the resolution and make it look a little less glamorous to play on their system, it will sell on their system. And if Capcom doesn't realize that, then, like I said, put it on all three systems or suffer the same fate you suffered before.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, obviously, lessons learned, right? You get burnt, you don't put your hand back in the fire, right? And I think that, if you look back to when that game came out, a lot of people, and I've told this story on Breakfast with Boom, on probably other shows when I talk about Capcom. Growing up in the NES days, Super NES days, the GameCube era, Capcom was my favorite company. Obviously, we can talk about classics all day, but for me, what made me like a ridiculous die-hard Capcom fan is Resident Evil, Onimusha, Dino Crisis, all of these third-person action, suspenseful type of games. You converted me into like the biggest Capcom fan going, and one of the things that Capcom did really well back in the days is making sure that their games were everywhere because they wanted to make money. And in 2015, 2016, they were on the verge of bankruptcy. I don't know if people could remember, rewind their minds to when there was talk about Sony buying them and Microsoft buying them, and then obviously the tides turn. 2017, we get Resident Evil 7. They bring it back. They bring it back to survival horror, change it a little bit, and they've been on a roll. I mean, like a really unbelievable financial roll. Gaming Forte, I want to go to you on this. In your opinion, Street Fighter 6, we know it's coming. We don't know where it's going to be released. We don't know when it's going to be released. But Capcom has already stated that the new Street Fighter 6 is working off of the amazing RE engine that they built in-house that powered Resident Evil 7 and powered Resident Evil 2, the remake. And they're currently something else we're going to talk later on about, something that they're also working on. What are your thoughts on it being multi-plat, and do you think it's important to their business plans to have this game sell better than 2.5 million copies in a span of 3 years?
Oh, it's definitely in their best interest. I mean, Street Fighter is one of those household names. I mean, it still has its own tournament event when it comes to Evo, on top of all the other fighting games that they promote there. I just think when it came to Street Fighter V, a lot of it had to do with Sony coming out and actually investing money into the project to actually do that.
Right.
But that just lets you know how big of a financial hole Capcom was in at that time. But ever since games like Monster Hunter came out and Devil May Cry 5, they have seen a lot of goodwill and a lot of growth just from those two games in general. So I just think, I forgot about Resident Evil. Resident Evil is probably one of the bigger ones until that came out. So this is a really, really good thing for them to actually do. I don't want to see exclusivity on one console anymore because I feel like that kind of hurt the experience. There was a lot of Xbox people that really did want to play that game.
I was one of them, dude, and I was forced to play it on on the PS4, which I'm not a fan of trophies. My friends list is small there because I play mostly on Xbox, but I bought it.
Right, yeah, and that was another thing, man. I bought it too, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I would normally enjoy because all my friends that play Street Fighter are consistently on the Xbox. So just going over there, going through the motions was, not horrible, but it was something that I think, could have been done a lot better. But I am super excited for what they're doing with the game. Can't wait to see exactly how it's going to look in that new RE engine because that engine is sick and it looks really good. And if Resident Evil 2 Remake didn't tell you, man, that game, on top of it being a completely new looking game, it just felt different even in the same environment. So I think they have a lot of a really big opportunity on their hand by really just capturing what people really missed about Street Fighter. People always have issues going forward, like they need to do this, they need to do that. Me personally, I just want the game to be everywhere so as many people can enjoy it as possible.
Yeah, that's a great point. And real quick, before I get on to the next panel member, I have to thank Aiden Williams with the outstanding and very generous $5 super chat. He says, "What's up, brother? Glad I could make it to the show. It's 2:45 a.m. in Australia, but I always wanted to. I always like to listen to the show. Well, when I drive to work." Well, listen, first of all, thank you so much for tuning in at nearly 1 o'clock in the morning. Make sure you're safe getting to work, and I hope that the show goes long enough that at least can knock out an hour and a half of your work schedule, so at least you can start off with a bang. But thank you so much for the generosity, Aiden. It's greatly appreciated. You know, there's something that the tides are turning in, and what I mean by that is 2 years ago, cross-play, cross-progression was taboo, right? Especially for the Sony brand. And it apparently seems as if, with technology moving forward the way it is, that is becoming less, it's becoming more and more likely that a game is going to release on platform A and be able to play against platform B and C. And in my opinion, I think that Capcom has in fact learned that staying exclusive, especially a world-famous franchise like Street Fighter, to just one console doesn't do them financial justice. And I think that, Nautical, you kind of really knocked it out of the park with your point about back then, Capcom was in a financial dire strait, so they couldn't afford to do to make Street Fighter V, and they needed help of someone. Shame on Xbox for not jumping in bed immediately, but the past is the past. But I want to go to Nintendo Direct on this one. Street Fighter is a name that, in my opinion, rings as loud bells as you can say Soul Calibur or Mortal Kombat. I think they're all on the upper echelon of fighters. Mm-hmm. And to think that not only are we getting a Street Fighter 6 on the heels of the failure that Street Fighter V was, but they're releasing it in a new engine built from the ground up that they created. How important, in your opinion, is to have this game on every platform possible?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if it's that important to them. I think it would benefit them financially. I think it would benefit them greatly because, like you mentioned, the more platforms you have your game on, the more you will sell. I know that there are, as much as Xbox has a reputation for not being the quote unquote the fighter box, there are people that enjoy playing fighters on Xbox. So there is that community on Xbox that are waiting to play fighters. So I mean, they would have that. I know that in the people that I've talked to, they always tell me Xbox isn't the fighter box. PlayStation is more suited for fighters. That's why Street Fighter was exclusive. All this. They give you all these. They give you all those.
They're just opinions,
excuses.
though.
Yeah, they're just opinions. But I think it would benefit them greatly. I don't know if they'll do it. I don't know. It just depends on how Sony plays the game here. You know what I mean? What if Sony throws a huge amount of money at them to make this thing exclusive again? You never know. I think it would be great if it came on the Switch. That's one thing I'm looking forward to seeing. I know Capcom has said, they have said that they have a lot of support coming for the Switch to see how well the Switch is doing. I can see it coming. Mortal Kombat was on the Switch. I don't see why they wouldn't put Street Fighter, 6 on there. I think that would be huge, and I think it would sell well. So as far as do I think they need to? No, probably not. I think they could probably get away with making it exclusive again. Do I want them to? Heck no. No, I do not want them to. Bring that thing to every platform possible. You want broaden your audience. People want it on their console. So just do that, and I'd be happy with that one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you say the number out loud, 2.5 million across two platforms, PC,
which is crazy.
And again, if you look at the staggering number of PS4s that are in the world that have been shipped, which is 100 million, it's the third console in their 4-console lifespan that broke 100 million. That's freaking incredible. The sales factor is incredible. What's disappointing as a fan growing up playing, who put his quarter up there to get his ass beat by his brother who used Blanca when I used E-Honda, okay? Which E-Honda's still my favorite fighter. And I beat my brother as much as he beat me, but he would definitely put me down with Blanca. But I get sick to my stomach when I hear that they squeaked out in 3 years 2.5 million copies. That's gross.
Yeah, that is gross. But I think as long as it's still doing well in tournaments like Evo, I don't think they mind. I still think they're getting revenue from that. Not to mention DLC fighters like.
Somebody actually said that in the chat that needs to go away.
It needs to go away, but the community is out here buying these DLC fighters for however much amount of money. So I don't think they're hurting, compared to the sales. But once again, that I want them to bring it to all platforms. Please bring it to all platforms.
Yes.
I think it'll benefit.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Zemi, I want you to close us out on this because I don't know. I know you don't like scary games, so I don't actually know whether or not you're a fighting game fan or not. And Street Fighter, is a name you may not play it, but Street Fighter has been around for freaking years. And in your opinion, based on sales numbers versus consoles out in the market and PCs out in the market, do you think that it's a wise business decision for Capcom to make sure that this next release is a multi-plat across every current generation console?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it would be in their best interest, but then again, if PlayStation, writes them a check and that number on that check is really, really nice, I mean, you never know what's going to happen. I think that that's probably really going to be the only limiting thing to Street Fighter becoming a multi-plat is whether or not Sony wants it to be, an exclusive and how much they're willing to pay for it. But personally, myself, I'm hugely against third-party games becoming exclusive titles. I just don't like that. I don't like it whenever I didn't like it whenever Xbox did it with Tomb Raider. I just don't like it. I just want every single third-party game that ever comes out just to be on all platforms. And I think it's pretty common sense that it would make more money if they released it on Nintendo, Xbox, and PC, all major platforms. And I think that that's what it's going to definitely come to. Especially with you talking about the sell numbers were being extremely low on the PlayStation. Maybe PlayStation would still want that to be an exclusive for them. You never know. But I definitely think that we're going to see a Street Fighter 6 be on the Xbox and be on the Nintendo and stuff like that. And another thing to also add to that is that Xbox has been paying a lot more attention to the Japanese market. You know what I mean?
Right.
They've been talking to a lot of the developers over there. And so I wouldn't be surprised if their talks and if their policy of taking a little bit more interest into the Japanese market isn't going to help bring Street Fighter over to the Xbox One or to the Scarlet.
Well, this has been a great topic, but before I close it out, I have to just address somebody in the chat. CSP Gaming is asking a question, and I want to respond to this because he's making assumptions, and I don't like assumptions because you know what that means. You make an ass out of you and me, and I'm not going to take it. If you have exclusivity, why wish Xbox jumped in? Well, here's the thing, dude. First of all, I was buying Street Fighter V no matter who had it. But because I prefer playing on Xbox over the PlayStation 4, that's why I wish Xbox would have jumped in. But I think that I led the charge correctly in this entire topic from start to finish, that it should be multi-plat. Now, I'm not going to say that a first-party game should be multi-plat because it's first-party, which means that you're not going to get Xbox games on PS4, and PS4, Last of Us 2, not on Xbox. And I'm okay with that because that's why I own all three consoles. So I just want to address that and make sure that you understand. This isn't me saying, oh, Xbox wins, I want it on Xbox. I want it everywhere for everyone. That's why this show is run the way it is, because it's a multi-plat show. So just, if you're trying to insinuate something, just take that insinuation somewhere else, my friend, because it's not going to go anywhere on this show. But I want to talk about the next topic. And you know what? I have to shout out Idle Sloth in the chat because he just dropped a megaton. Now, I had this towards the end of the show, but you know what? who doesn't want to talk about Gears 5? I think that is a subject that not only has tremendous weight on this show, but it's going to be talked about for weeks to come and weeks after its launches on September 6th. And he just sent me an article that confirmed that Gears 5 single-player campaign will in fact be shown at Gamescom 2019. Now, if you've been listening to me for quite some time, you're going to know that I called this. I was called a knucklehead. I was called, you don't know what you're talking about. Twitter is
You were
what
called a knucklehead?
Yeah. People didn't believe that. No, it's only going to be Horde, and they're going to show the campaign 2 days before it launches, and you don't know what you're talking about. Well, I apparently did, and I was confident that public pressure, Jay, was going to dictate what Microsoft showed, because the people, i.e. everyone in this chat, 100 plus people were listening live, everyone on this panel, everyone who's an Xbox fan, everyone who's considering buying an Xbox thanks to that custom console that we're going to get into in a second, want to see single-player campaign, and we know it's going to be good. We know it's going to be big. We know it's going to be the largest in the history of the franchise, and we know that it's going to be semi-open world, very similar to something seen in a major, unbelievable title called God of War, where it's open but not open world, giving you places to explore but still keeping it confined to an area. That's what I think they're going to do, and of course, This is going to be a topic I think we're going to spend some time on, so I want to just throw this out there as well. We were talking
Boom, I need to address the chat.
Yes.
Please refrain from profanity. Using the word knucklehead is not accepted here.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. The public service announcement is great. And real quick, before I get on to the custom console, if you noticed, Wilmy Hood had to step away. He had an emergency. He does own his own business, and he had something happen where he had to leave the show. I don't know if he's going to be back, but he will make a return appearance on this show. We've already talked about having him back on. So just to give you the heads up, he had to step away. But, obviously we were talking privately prior to going live about how everybody is going gaga or crazy, if you will, for this Gears 5 custom console. I did a video on my channel talking about my opinions on it, so if you're interested, go check that out. But I want to get the opinions of everybody on this panel. First of all, custom consoles sell consoles, not just to the people who don't own an Xbox, more so to the hardcore. Everyone on this panel is going to try and get that console. And we all have Xbox One X's that we're going to be trading in droves. Jay, I want to go to you. First of all, tell me what your thoughts on not only two things here, because it's a double-edged sword, this question. One, hearing that we're going to actually see single-player campaign that everyone's been saying, oh, they're not showing it because it sucks. So they're going to show it at Gamescom where hundreds of thousands of people are going to be there to witness it. That's one. And two, what are your opinions on this outstanding custom console that they debuted the other day?
Okay, well, I'll start off with the first part of the question where, what do I think about them not showing the campaign? So I'm a traditional guy. I love Christmas. And you know what I love about Christmas? I love surprises. And
okay.
And the fact that they haven't shown a lot of the campaign, I mean, they show bits and pieces, I'm fine with that. I don't believe the game will be bad. It's a Gears game, for God's sakes. It's not going to be bad. I don't care what people said about Gears 4. I liked Gears 4 a lot. Yes, it had a lot of robots. Big deal. I still enjoyed the campaign quite a bit. And they added some extra elements with the giant robots and stuff. It was awesome. So that's number one. I don't mind. I like surprises. Number two, custom console. Microsoft is putting Sony on notice with this console. They're saying, stop it with the stickers. Stop it with the spray paint. Do something real for your customers. This console, I have got 2 Scorpios, and I am going to try to get rid of one of these Scorpios for that console. 100%. That console is breathtaking. The fact that they've got this translucent front with the icy skull.
Dude, it looks like a hologram. My God,
sick. It looks sick. And I'm just saying that and the fact that the colors are neutral, like the last one that they did was the S was red.
Right.
A lot of people didn't buy that because, quite frankly, it wouldn't look good in an entertainment stand standing out red like that. I know that my wife would not have allowed me to get that thing because it looks like it's all clawed and bloody and stuff. Like, my wife wouldn't let me put that on display in our living room. But this one here, with it being black and white, or gray and white, it would be perfect in anyone's entertainment stand. It'd be perfect in my living room. Yeah, like I said, they've put Sony on notice. This is how you make a custom console, and I can't wait to try to get this thing.
Dude, how incredible is that Kate Diaz controller?
Oh man, and
it's got the little cog on there on the front.
Yeah, a lot of people have been criticizing on that, but I think it looks awesome.
I think it looks amazing, dude. I'm gonna buy the charging stand that matches that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I cannot wait. Let's go to the next person because I'm just gonna bust at the seams here.
Well, real quick, before I get to Gaming Forte, I gotta thank Elemental P with the outstanding additional $2 super chat. He says, MS reminds the industry what a premium product is. Well said, my friend. I'm giving you the silent golf clap because we're live on the air. That was a great point. Of course, Gaming Forte, I have to go to you. Obviously, you have seen the pre-orders. You have seen the people coming into the store and pre-ordering it. Hell, I think you are pre-ordering, if I'm not mistaken. I think everyone that wants this $500 console, which, by the way, comes with what they showed, the console, the custom controller, and every Gears of War except for Judgment. I think Judgment's the only one that's not in there digitally. So if you're new to the series, my God, this is a premium package. What are your takes on the amazing custom console that was displayed the other day? And more importantly, are you excited to now hear that Gamescom that happens on the 20th of this month of August? We're going to get to see a chunk of never before seen gameplay in the single player campaign.
Oh man, so let's just talk about the gameplay, because this has been like the huge broken record for the last month ever since E3, and people just like, where's the gameplay? And me personally, I just been telling people like, man, it's Gears of War. What do you expect to be different? I mean, it's not going to be this magical thing that's going to turn into something completely different. We all know what Gears of War looks like. Unless you want them to spoil the story, then why are we putting so much emphasis on it? Sure, I think we all wanted to see it sooner, but it's not like we weren't going to see it. You know, they were going to show it sooner or later, and Gamescom was always going to be my best guess on when they were doing it, because it was the next biggest trade show right before the game released. So I think people were like kind of overreacting to that, but I can understand people's feelings because they just want to see what they have to offer, and it's understandable. But so that's a good thing that they're finally doing that. When it comes to the custom console, we talked about this on BRAP. On BRAP on Wednesday, my store is at like, I think we were at 28 of the systems pre-ordered like that.
Nice.
Now we're closer to 50. Like,
nice.
we were somewhere around 50 last time I looked at it.
I love hearing this.
And people, and it's kind of crazy because I didn't expect it to be that high, because even for the game itself, we weren't that high, you know. But I think a lot of it has to do with Game Pass.
Yeah,
people being able to play it for $1 right there, which I, after thinking about it, I think it's the most brilliant marketing move ever. You're basically saying, hey, we're going to give our game away to people because people are going to talk about this service, and once you get into that service and you get stuck there, you kind of just get used to paying for it. So I think that's the whole angle they're going to with that. But the custom console, man, I did pre-order it. I pre-ordered it yesterday.
Nice.
And the main reason I did it, it's just because I like to have the newer thing.
Yes.
And I feel like that system will always have value. That system will have value. Like, I didn't have to trade up my original Xbox to get that the Forza 5 blue one that they had that had the car sounds and startup of the engines and stuff on it. I didn't have to do that because it was the same thing. I did it because I wanted a newer system, because I knew it would have better trade-in value at a later date. Plus, it was a 1 terabyte hard drive. I didn't have to upgrade my Forza system to get the Gears of War green system, because it was the same system, just smaller. but I did it because I knew it was going to have better trading value at a later date than the one I had. And guess what? I have 2 Scorpios, just like Graphic God does. Trust me, one of these Scorpios are going to the store to get this system. And once again, something like this system, it holds its value.
Yeah.
So if I decide at a later date that I do want to get rid of it, there's going to be some Gears of War guy like Boom out there that's going to be like, man, I never got that system.
Here's 400 beans.
and they'll pay the amount of money for that system that I bought it for brand new. So it's almost an investment to a point, but just that color wave on that system, I'm a sucker for like ice blue and gray and just the hologram in general underneath it. I think it looks better than the red one, and the red one had a lot of detail in it. That Gears of War,
it had a lot of like the laser etching, the scratches on the side of it looked amazing.
And black and red is like my favorite color. And the thing about that system is I felt like it was a little too busy. And I think it was just more of like what Graphics Guy said. I have the Spider-Man PS4 Pro, and guess where that thing is? It's in my game room. It's not in the living room. My wife will not let me put it out there. She was like, you are not putting an all red system. I don't care if it's Spider-Man or not. It's not going in my living room. So unfortunately, that has to sit in the game room where somebody has to be invited into the room to see it. But with this Gear system, I have a white Xbox One X in my living room for my daughter to play on. And yes, that means I have 3 of them total, which is kind of crazy. But that will literally mix up really well with that system in the front if I keep it up there. And I'm looking forward to this system coming out. It was a shock that they were making it because they said it at the very 9th hour. But overall, man, I think this is a really attractive looking system, and people love it because they're pre-ordering it like crazy.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Now, real quick, Nintendo, before I get to you, I have to thank Rain G4 with the outstanding $2 super chat. He says custom consoles are like classic car to collectors. That is a great point because I know that I have a ton of consoles in storage, even though I have like 3 360s, and I got rid. I look back at it now, it's terrible. I got rid of the Gears S, and I shouldn't have, and I just kick myself every time I think about it. But anyway, Nintendo Direct. I want to get your opinion on this because this is a 2-pronged story, and then we're gonna come back. We're gonna segue into another Gears story that I want to talk about. You can't talk about everything at once. In your opinion, was it smart for Microsoft, in my opinion, shows confidence in the Gears franchise that they have the custom console? Do you think it's going to sell well? But more importantly, are you excited to hear that due to public outcry, they will in fact be showing some actual single-player campaign at Gamescom in just a little over a week?
Yeah, I'm excited to see the gameplay. That was the one thing from E3 that I thought was missing. I was expecting for them to show something at E3 when I was watching it on a live stream, and then they just showed the trailer for the Horde mode, and I was just like, oh, that's it. And I thought they were going to show more gameplay when they went underneath the stage and had all the wrestlers from WWE there. Like, I was like, okay, now they're going to show it, and then they just didn't show it, and I was really confused, But the fact that they're going to show it here is not a surprise, especially since it's Gamescom and it's so close to the release. I just want to know how much they're going to show. I don't want them to spoil really much anything. I just really want to know what the game looks like. I just want to know if it looks smooth, what it's going to look like, the detail of it, what the mechanics are going to feel like. I just want to get a basic feel for the game, and then that's it. I don't really want them to show a whole lot of stuff or spoil anything. And that's kind of what I'm looking. That's really all I wish to see at Gamescom. As far as the custom custom console, it looks nice. It looks great. It looks wonderful. I'm not the biggest Gears of War guy. I'm really not. I just never really was. But I'm anticipating this release, honestly. Just everything about it. So if we can get that gameplay, if it looks great, I'll be all in on it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, like, listen, I'm going to be honest. I had no doubt that what we're going to see is going to be breathtaking and amazing. I know it because Rod Ferguson, he is legit as they come. you can say so many things about other developers that are, that maybe they pump up their games and they have shortcomings. Maybe Gears had too many robots for you, but that game was effing gorgeous. The set pieces were what you expected. It was a great ending, a very unexpected ending, a cliffhanger ending, and it brought back some classic characters, and I enjoyed it from start to finish. In fact, I'm going to play it from start to finish, probably on the hardest mode right before during Gamescom or right before the end of the month, so I can really just familiarize myself with everything that happened, so I'm not taking I don't know what happened. I want to know everything. But Zemi Games, I want you to close out this particular part of the Gears topic. In your opinion, do you think that, because you've heard the stories, you've seen on Twitter, social media has been a buzz with many people taking pictures like me of their receipts, and everyone that said they weren't going to get it are now getting it. It seems like it's selling in droves. Now, I'm going to throw this out there, and if I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to admit it. I have a funny feeling, and I really, really believe in my heart that this is going to be the first NPD that Microsoft either comes in second or actually wins, because there are going to be a lot of people buying this console. There are going to be a lot of people who don't have an Xbox console possibly going out and buying it for Gears, because I think Gears is going to be a Game of the Year contender. What are your thoughts on that, dude?
Well, I love the way that the console looks, and I'm super happy to see Xbox putting a lot of time and effort into a custom console. It's something that we really don't see all that often. And just to expand on that idea in of itself, I really would love to see Xbox do more of this with third-party games. Try to go out, get the marketing rights for certain games, and make a really awesome-looking custom console for that game. For instance, Doom. I'm not a huge Doom fan, but I know a lot of people are. And could you imagine if they made a custom console for Doom? How many people would go out, buy that Xbox and play Doom on Xbox because that console just looks, fantastic. Me, myself, I'm not going to buy this console just because, I just don't have enough money. I'm still thinking about getting the Elite V2 controller. And then here next year, the new consoles are, going to drop, and I'm going to be spending a lot of money there. So it's just, financially, it's just not a good decision for me personally to go out and pay that money for the custom console. I do think it looks really, really good, and I'm super pumped for it.
Yeah. Now, real quick, in your opinion, what do you think about the them showing the gameplay? Finally, the biggest story of E3 came out that no gameplay. Even though we saw gameplay, it just wasn't single player campaign. Are you excited to hear that they're finally going to show that live to the public?
Yeah, absolutely. I was out there, criticizing it as well as other people, and I wasn't criticizing it because I wanted to see the gameplay and just bash it or something. I wasn't, criticizing it because I wanted to put Gears of War 5 in a negative light. I was criticizing it because me personally, I'm not going to talk about a game unless I know what the game really looks like. And from what they showed us at E3, I don't really even think that they really showed us any long amount of gameplay. I think they might have showed us a few little clips of the new Horde mode, but we didn't get to see really any multiplayer game mode, and we didn't really get to see any gameplay from the single player. And that's mostly why I was disappointed about it, because I wanted to really give my true feelings about the game, and I couldn't do that if I don't know what the gameplay looks like. And I just thought that they should have definitely showed us more, but I'm super excited that they will be showing us what's going to some gameplay at this year's Gamescom.
Yeah, listen, they showed Escape, and I was able to, like I said, I had an opportunity to play it. I instead took video for the channel. And I was impressed. It looked amazing. I cannot wait to get into it. But real quick, I have to shout out once again Idle Sloth, adding his 2 cents to the live show with some breaking news directly from the official Gears of War Twitter account, and they just put this out seconds ago. Thanks, Idle Sloth, once again for your contributions to Breakfast with Boom. It states, "We are proud to announce that Gears 5 has gone gold. From all of us at the Coalition, we couldn't be more excited to share this game with you in just 4 weeks' time. Head over to Xbox Wire for more information, including the reveal of our Gears 5 achievements list. That is pretty freaking awesome. And of course, I want to just roll and segue right into the second part of this topic. And there's been a lot of controversy, and I think unnecessarily, for the last couple of weeks. I don't know if it's the hate mongers. I don't understand if it's the Xbox people looking to turn people to their channels. I don't know, but there's been talk about the 4-player campaign not being in Gears 5. And I pulled a story that comes from GamingBolt.com where it was that Ferguson himself talks about it and explains that it was due to the design of the storytelling and what issues it would possibly cause for pacing. And that does make sense. Now, if you don't know, it's going to be 3-player co-op, not 4. And the third person you're going to be able to use the robot from all of the Gears. But let me break down some of this this article. The Coalition are attempting new things with Gears 5, which is being billed as the biggest game in the franchise's history in every way possible, from the campaign to the PvP to everything in between. Gears 5 is promising to be ambitious in a way not seen ever in a Gears-related title. But one area where the game is actually pared back as compared to the original trilogy has been with co-op. And the reason that Gears 5 is not having this option, Ferguson says himself, it's a twofold response. The first aspect is due to design issues, in that the game would have to have large areas to be able to accommodate 4 players. And that's basically what he said. And this is what he had to say about co-op, and this is pretty interesting. I'm a big co-op gamer, and everything I do is co-op based, said Ferguson. The problem with the 4-player co-op is that it's chaos. When you played that Halo experience for the first time, I bet you didn't understand exactly what was going on all at the right times. Because while you were grabbing ammo, somebody's triggering the event that causes the thing to happen. You know what I mean. There's a technical issue with 4 players, which is you need a much bigger world. One of the things you'll notice from Gears 1, 2, and 3 is that 3 had a much bigger level design, because now I have to go and find places for 4 people to take cover, so it's much more challenging to build. And from what's been revealed so far, like I was saying, you're going to be able to play the third person in your party is going to be have full control over Jack, the door-ripping R2-like unit from the previous trilogy. And to me, I'm going to be honest with you, I think that's super cool. It's certainly different. Who's to say that Jack itself is not going to be armed to the teeth? Right, and that you're going to be able to actually, pick up down teammates, maybe lay down some fire as they run to cover. I think could possibly be interesting. Jay, I want to go to you on this. For you personally, as a diehard Gears fan, instead of the 4-player co-op, they make a 3-player co-op, but they add a twist by using Jack. Does that make it better or more interesting, and just not having co-op, a third or fourth player co-op in general?
I'm happy with any co-op that they put into a really finely made single-player game anyway. 3 players, 2 players, 4 players, it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, for the most part, I play a lot of these games solo, and after I finish it solo, I sometimes ask a friend to go through it with me. I rarely have 2 to 3 friends to play with at the same time anyway to do something like that. So for me personally, it doesn't really matter. I'm not. I don't have a really opinion, but I'm not upset by it at all. And I think throwing in this the bot or whatever it is as an NPC, I think that's a cool feature for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, Jack, the third player, you're going to be actually control Jack. So there's going to be 3 people in your party. It's going to be you. It's going to be Kate for sure, because she's the main protagonist for the game. We're probably going to use Kate most of the game. And I'm assuming at some point you're going to be able to use Dell. You're going to be able to use Marcus, and you're going to be able to use Oh my God, what Marcus's son? Oh my God, I can't believe his name. I forgot his name. Anyway, you're going to be able to use somebody from the Gears of War family, and I think I think it's pretty freaking cool that you're going to be able to do that. I think it's something different. I actually looking forward to using Dell personally more than just about anybody, because I think that he's a character that needs to kind of have his own. I think that maybe in the third game we're going to see Dell lead the charge, 'cause I think he's an amazing character. Gaming Forte, I want to get your opinion on this, because obviously there's been a lot of drama around this game, unnecessarily, I have to admit. And I think it's just the hate mongers of the world looking to just crap on anything Xbox. And again, we've seen some Xbox players themselves, supposedly diehard Xbox players, just dumping left and right on this game because they didn't see it. Listen, if you've played Gears since the beginning, you know what a Gears game is going to look like. But in your opinion, how does a 3-player co-op sound with the addition of Jack being controllable?
That's something I'm used to. That's what Destiny is, for the most part, outside of like raids and PvP. It's 3-player gameplay. I think, just like Graphic God just said, Jay just said, it's easier to get two people together than it is to try to get 4. And especially when you're talking about a single player narrative driven game like that, it's everybody kind of wants to stay on the same page. You don't have to wait for other people. That's just one less person you got to wait for. I can remember playing through Halo 3 when that was a thing. It was like, oh, I want to go through the campaign, but I got to wait for some friends to jump on because we want to do it together. And you know, it was just more problems and trouble than it was worth. Not saying that 4-player co-op shouldn't be there, but going with 3 just makes it a little bit more accessible for people that just only have a couple of friends that they can jump in and out with. And I'm looking forward to going through this. I have a couple of friends that I know play Gears religiously, and I know I can find them to go through the campaign and stuff with. And then making it so that one of the playable characters isn't just one of the normal cast of characters of the game, like Marcus and his son and stuff. Is like, okay, cool, I can play as Jack. You can do different things in the game, and
you could rip doors. We don't know if he's going to be armed.
Yeah, we don't know what he's going to be. You know, it's pretty much up to the development at that time, and I like surprises, just like Jay said earlier. So
you watch, he'll be carrying the biggest gun of everybody.
He probably will.
Could you imagine if he's carrying a chainsaw?
Hey, I mean, he could. I mean, you know, it might be a little bit more feasible in this game. You know, instead of pulling a gun, like a ladder out of your backpack or something that's like 10 times the size of the Eiffel Tower, you know, he could probably just materialize a ladder and help you climb something. It looks a little, it seems like it makes more sense in this world because it's a robot doing it, not a person. But, you know, that's shots that don't need to be taken. But, you know, I just had to throw that in there.
No, listen, it's all about fun and games. And you know what?
I'm excited for it. I think this is a really, really good move for them. And I'll never be against what developers want to do for their game.
Yeah, great point.
They have the vision for the game, and if they feel like this game is better in a 3-player co-op versus how it was with 4 before, or even 2, I'm 100% in for it. So I'm just want the game to come out at this point. I mean, it's close, but it don't seem like it's close enough.
I agree. I'm right there with you. Real quick, before I get to you, Nintendo Direct, I have to thank LMNOP once again for his generosity and dropping an additional $2 super chat. And he says, was it ever announced as a 4-player co-op publicly? And I believe Zemi answered, but just in case you didn't see it, I will answer it for him. No, actually, it was never announced. It was announced as co-op, meaning 2 players. And then they, of course, talked about the 3rd player being Jack, and I still think Jack is going to be doing more than just ripping doors. It wouldn't make any design sense to have a robot that's taking the place of an actual Gears member just to be there, just to be a robot. It doesn't make any sense. So I think they're gonna save that for a surprise, and I think Jack may get an upgrade. And real quick, Basement Radio Arcade Podcast, you know him as Enrique, the showrunner and host of that particular podcast, he drops an awesome $2 super chat, and he says, MS heard us, Gears 5 campaign footage at Gamescom. Yes, you see, right there, Enrique could attest that I said this, not only on BRAP, not only on a test podcast that we did that was 18 hours long, but I've said it numerous times before, that yes, they're going to show it due to public pressure, and I'm glad that we're not waiting till September 2nd or something to see it. I want to see the campaign, even though I know what it's going to look like. But Nintendo Direct, I want to just grab your ear for a second. Now, listen, there's no doubt that Gears 5 is going to take the gaming world by storm. I already have it in my top 3 of 2019, and I haven't played the damn game yet. I think it's going to be in the Game of the Year conversation based on what we've seen, how many modes, what they're doing to it, the size, what the promises come with it. And then, of course, you pack in all of the Gears merch. You know, you got the custom console, you got the custom controller, you got the custom hard drive, you got the custom headphones. I mean, they really went to town on this. In your opinion, besides all of the fanfare, are you interested to see where they're taking this 3-player co-op?
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm gonna agree with what Gaming Forte said. I used to be that guy that would always question whatever the game developer was doing. Like, I used to be that guy, so I can't be like, oh, I've never been that guy. I used to be that guy, but nowadays I'm like, yo, just let the people put the game out and then let us see what it is, and then we'll judge it. Then I don't like this whole people judging a game before it comes out before you even get a chance to play it. Like, just play the game and then make your opinion. It's not a 4-player co-op, that's bad. Like, he gave you a reason. Like, he said, look, we want to make it we want to make it a good experience for you guys, and we found that this is not a good experience if we have a lot of people in here. Plus, it's more work. We have to create a bigger environment, like you said, more places for people to get cover, all that stuff. So at this point, you know, as a fan of gaming, I don't ever like try to demand that developers do something whenever they have a vision for it. Like, I just don't do that. So I'm interested in what they have to offer. Like I said, I am a very casual Gears fan. Like, I've played just a little bit. I played Gears 4 with Salty, Gears 3. I never played 1 and 2, so I'm very casual. So like my sample of Gears is very limited. But I kind of have to agree. From whenever I played with my friends, I did find it very chaotic. Like, that was one of my biggest turnoffs about Gears, was I found it very chaotic for me to keep track of. So for him to say this makes me a little bit more comfortable, if that makes sense, moving forward. So I like the direction, and I'm looking forward to playing it. Like I said, I don't think it was a big deal that they made this change, at least for me as a super casual coming in.
Yeah, I mean, look, coming from an opinion like mine, who I'm a diehard Gears fan. I mean, hell, I got a chainsaw Lancer right above my head here. You know what I'm saying? I got a pair of COD dog tags hanging right next to me. So I mean, I got a Marcus statue that's 18 inches in length. I'm a huge Gears fan. I don't have a Gears tattoo, but I did actually apply for that contest to see if I can get a Gears tattoo for free. Listen, I got news for you. I'm gonna record the whole thing, put it up on if they pick me. I got an email today from them saying that they confirmed my entry. I don't know if it means anything, but guess what? If Boom is getting a Gears tattoo because of this, I'm taping it. But anyway, Zemi Games, I want you to round off the outstanding, ridiculous Gears topic that we had for today's show. In your opinion, Rod Ferguson seems to kind of know what he's doing, and I have faith in Rod. And if he's telling you that it would not have worked well with the story they're telling, I'm willing to bite. I think 3-player co-op is great. I think the addition of Jack as that third person is extremely unique, and I think that he's going to be weaponed up, if you will, where he's not just going to be an invisible robot that just kind of rips doors. It would be boring for said third player. What are your opinions on this, dude?
I mean, I definitely agree. Like, 4-player co-op can sometimes be a bit too much, and it definitely can impact the game. You know, with like what was said, like when in his statement, you know, picking up ammo and then somebody else on your team is already starting the event, and then you miss out on, you know, possibly a little bit of the story. Another big problem I have with 4-player co-op, especially with a strong narrative game, is, you know, you have everybody talking over each other, and you know, a lot of the times you can't hear what's actually, you know, like the narrative of the game. And so really, the only times I've ever played Gears of War, it's mostly been cooperatively, and it's usually with just one other person. I always play it with 2-player co-op. That's just the way I prefer it. Maybe it's because that's how Gears of War 1 and Gears of War 2 were, and those are my 2 favorite Gears of War games, single-player wise. And maybe the 2-player co-op is a big reason for that. However, I do have a slight concern with being able to play as Jax, because, you know, I know how my Gears of War friends are, and I can just imagine now, you know, 3 of us hopping into a lobby, and then one of them starts playing as Jax, and he's going to be like, "What the heck is this? Why did they add this in?" And so I think some players might be really, really excited to play as Jax. I'm definitely not one of them. I definitely want to play as an actual human character, and, you know, if I was the 3rd person to join the party and the 3rd person to join the co-op game, and then so I have to play as Jax, you know, that would definitely take away a lot from the experience for me. With that being said, I'm not going to say that it's not going to be a good experience playing as Jax, because, you know, like you guys said, he might have guns, he might have a chainsaw, he might have like a mounted like mini rockets or something. I mean, who knows? It could be a blast playing as him. But just looking at it from how I'm looking at it, I am somewhat concerned about being able to play as that robot.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I hear you. And you know what? You have a right to be concerned. I don't. I'm actually very excited because I think it's something different. You know, everybody's like, oh, it's the same old Gears. You know, I don't understand. I don't want to buy it. And when they do something different, people are like, why did you put your peanut butter in my chocolate, you asshole? That's the problem. So it's ridiculous, folks. It's going to be the Gears you know and love, and it's going to be a twist. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be badder. It's going to be incredible. Real quick, though, I have to shout out, where is this comment? The Rise and Fall of Sega. He says he has a Cobra Commander tattoo, and I salute you, sir, because G.I. Joe is by far my favorite franchise of all time. I have the entire Marvel Comics run mint carded on board, okay? I've owned every toy in the 80s. I had everything. The only thing I did not own was the aircraft carrier, because like the Neo Geo, my parents were like, nix to that, you're getting the Terradome, and that's what I wound up having as my big base for Cobra. I didn't get the aircraft carrier. Maybe one day when I hit it big. But anyway, my question to Rise and Fall, and I'm looking forward to this answer, is it hooded Cobra Commander, or is it the classic with the silver dome over his head? That's what I want to know. But I want to move on to the next topic, and I kind of want to rewind it back to Capcom, because a lot of people went crazy for Resident Evil 2, the remake, which was released, and currently, obviously, it's Boom's Game of the Year 2019. I called it in 2018, and unlike God of War, which I changed at the last minute for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I don't necessarily think anything could move Resident Evil 2, simply because that is my favorite game in the history of life. But with that said, we know that it had rave reviews, right? It's going to be in the talks of Game of the Year. As of this show, it's already grown to 4.5 million copies sold. The original number I checked on a couple of weeks ago was 4.2. So I'm just rounding it out to possibly 4.5 million copies, which that's a big deal. That's a big deal for a classic game. But the reason why I bring up this topic isn't so much to talk about Resident 2 as I used as a segue. The Resident Evil 2 Ambassador Program, if you don't know what that is a digital program for fans that includes newsletters and contests and tracks tons and tons of game progress. They sent out a letter in Japan to certain members, and I wish I lived in Japan, and I wish I was a certain member, because my God, I would have fallen over on myself. Apparently, there's an invite went out to test a new game, a new Resident Evil game that is in development, and you're going to be able to go to Tokyo on September 8th and 9th. The letter was translated and received by a community member, Biohaze, and while there are no details to what the game is, it is confirmed to be a Resident Evil game. That is for sure. Now, we know that Resident Evil 3, the remake, of course, Nemesis being my all-time favorite character, even though Resident 2 is my favorite game, is rumored to be possibly one of these titles. We know that they're hard at work at Resident Evil 8, which is going to follow the story of Resident 7, though they have not said whether or not it's going to be in first person, which I would imagine it will be. They'll keep the classics to third person, keep the new games to first person, and I'm okay with that. But here's my question to the panel. And obviously you hear the excitement in my voice because I'm a huge Resident fan. And of course, I had to add this for today's show. Jay, I want to go to you first. What are you hoping this secret invite is? Could it be Resident Evil 3 to remake, or Resident Evil 8, or possibly a side project? What are your thoughts?
If I was a betting man, I would probably say it would be 8, because they've already done 2, and I understand it's a great success. It has been a great success, and it is a terrific game. But I think now that they've proven that they can do what they did with 7, that they're going to continue the franchise that way and move on to 8 and just keep things moving forward, and maybe intermittently throw in those remakes of, like, 3 will be the next one, I'm assuming. I've not played Resident Evil 1, the remake that they made for that a couple years back. I'm not sure if that was any good or not, but or I don't know if it was a remake or more of a remaster. But I believe they're probably going to keep going forward, because this is a franchise that got a lot of people into Resident Evil. A lot of people maybe hadn't played the older games. Like, we have a lot of younger gamers here. Maybe their first experience with Resident Evil was 7. So he's going to capture them, and it's going to also capture us older gamers that remember the older games and want to keep moving forward with the franchise and keep expanding on that world. I'm super excited because I loved 7, loved 2. I wasn't big into the older games because I didn't own a PlayStation at the time. But let's just move forward and keep expanding the franchise, in my opinion.
Yes, no, I agree. And you know what? Eric the Beard in the chat, who's always here, I want to shout him out. I'm not going to use the words that he used, but I'm going to say this. They need to stop messing around and remake Dino Crisis. And dude, I gotta be honest with you, I don't have a lot of connections, but I do have a few, and I do troll the 4chan forums, and I do follow a guy, Anonymous One, not just Anonymous where it's somebody you don't know, but the guy goes as Anonymous One. He has dropped some major Capcom news, and he talked about massive details. Resident 2 before it was announced, and it came true. He talked about Resident 3, and that was not really announced, but they're working on it from what we hear. And he also talked about most recently, the last couple of months, I checked up on him, that Dino Crisis in fact was being remade. So that is definitely a possibility. But Gaming Forte, I want to get to you on this. First of all, I love when Capcom is notorious for this. They do these secret invites, right? It's so secret that they put it out there so people knew that it was a secret invite. But they test a new Resident Evil game, whether that be the remake of 3, whether that be 8, whether that be some sort of a side project. My goosebumps have goosebumps, and I'm excited because Resident Evil, like I've said before, is my favorite franchise of my entire lifetime. What are your thoughts of this secret invite, and what do you personally hope it is?
I think we're pretty much going to be inconsistent with this. I think when it comes to the invite, I'm super excited that they actually, or just super happy that they're bringing select people in to actually get a chance to try the game, play the game, so they can get a little firsthand or early glimpse into it, because most of these developers are starting to realize that, yeah, media, they do a decent job in promoting and showing and talking about the game, but it's mostly just to get clicks on their website. If you get gamers out to actually see these games in these events, what they do is, if they have YouTube channels, they'll talk about it on there, but then they have friends that they'll go to talk to, say, hey, man, if you like this Resident Evil, they may not can say what it is, but they'll say, man, you're going to be super excited to jump into this. So I think just talking to the gamers directly, which is what a lot of developers have been doing over the last few years, is more pivotal than anything else. And this is a really, really good thing. When it comes to what I think it's going to be, I think just like everybody else, the fact that they just did RE2, and Resident Evil 7 did very, very well. It was one of the most received Resident Evils ever since like 4. And I think overall, just the ability to be able to transition between that first person and third person and really being able to just grind through that was something that I was really, really impressed with. And I'm hoping that we see even more of that when it comes to the next iteration of that. I think Resident Evil 8 is going to be a step above the rest. They'll have a little bit more development time in our RE engine, so you're going to see even more spectacular things from it in the next version of Resident Evil that's not a remake. So I just think that's the direction they're going in. And then I think, like Jay said, they're just going to pivot to the next remake that they're going to do, which is going to be 3. And then can you imagine what 4 is going to look like? God. It was already.
I've heard on the grapevine that they're considering remaking Code Veronica before anything else after 3.
Yeah. That could be, and you know what? That would probably be smarter because you're keeping more people on the hook for the number ones.
Yes.
When it comes to that, so it's like everybody's thinking the next one's going to be 3, but how did they do come out with Code Veronica? Then you're going to get people like, well, yeah, I probably never played that one, or I didn't have the
Code Veronica was awesome, man.
It was really good. And I think that's going to get people super excited. And then when they do bring out the ones that people are looking forward to, I see it being just like the custom consoles and stuff. People are going to get super excited for the ones that they're super into, but it's going to get them interested in everything as a whole. And but that's what I think. I think Resident Evil 8 is going to be the next one that they're talking about, because they're going to have a more their RE engine is going to be more refined, and they're going to be able to do more things with it. And then we're going to see after that with all the different remakes, and they're just going to iterate from there.
Yeah, no, that's great point. That's a great point. Nintendo, before I get to real quick, I have to thank the Board Game Renegade for not only being in the chat, but dropping a very generous $2 super chat. Thank you so much for your kindness. He says, did you guys discuss the new Game Informer Matt Booty interview? No, we didn't discuss it today, and unfortunately, that came too late before I was able to get it in. What I am going to say is this. I have 2 massive stories that I'm currently writing for Thursday's Xbox Factor podcast, where you're going to see the return of the Welsh gamer reprising his role as my official co-host. Obviously, I've said it before, he took some time off for some personal reasons, but thankfully everything worked out well for him and his family. He is back. His first show is going to be the 15th, and it's going to be a big one. So tune in next Thursday, and we will be talking about Phil Spencer's single-player comments, as well as this new Matt Booty interview, which I didn't get a chance to finish reading. I did kind of peruse through it, but I'm going to be talking about that as well. So thank you for the super chat, and thank you for the suggestion. Nintendo Direct, I want to go to you, dude, because listen, Resident Evil is one of those classic franchises that it's pretty incredible that when you look back to 1996, when it released on the PlayStation, where my brother, myself, and 13 of our friends gathered up in my brother Neo Mental's room, and you know how you see it like in the movies where everyone's kind of on top of each other and everyone's just looking in awe of what we're seeing, and the dogs jumped through the window, we all fell back, controllers went flying. It's something that's going to last with me forever. And the fact that in 2019 and in 2020 we're rumored to get the Resident Evil 3 remake, which of course, again, Nemesis is my favorite character. Are you excited to see that Capcom understands that classic gaming matters and that they're just evolving their franchises, and that this secret invite could mean something big?
Yeah, I'm like Forte said. I think we're all going to be in step here with our opinions on this, and Forte made a good point talking about word of mouth with gamers is probably more valuable than going to the media at this point, because you said they're just in it for clicks and views. But if you have that gamer that says, "Hey, yo, I played this game, and this next game is going to be fire," you're more likely to take that opinion in versus the opinion of somebody who is either one paid to do a review or is doing a review for clicks. You know what I mean? And so, they have their own agendas. Gamers most of the time don't have their own agendas when it comes to word of mouth. So I agree with him on that one. I think this one, it's probably 8. It's probably 8. And one thing I like about what Capcom is doing recently is most of the releases as of recently have been absolutely beautiful, and they've been bangers. Like Resident Evil looked phenomenal. What's the Devil May Cry looked phenomenal. You know what I mean? Monster Hunter World looked phenomenal. And I feel like they're only going to continue to get better and better and better. I just wish we could hear more about, I know we can't because of, the confidentiality clauses and stuff of people playing these games, but I wish we could hear what this was, what it looks like, what it feels like, because I have no doubt with the trend that Capcom has been going on, it's going to be a great looking game, and it's probably going to be phenomenal. So yeah, I go with that. Go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is that I'm hearing that there's going to be something unveiled at Tokyo Game Show in September.
Oh, really?
So we could get a trailer for Resident 3 remake, which is supposedly going to release in February of 2020. That's what I'm hearing. That's what this dude said. It is possible. They like that month, that January, February, because January launched Resident Evil 7 in 2017. February we got I think it was February in 20 we got Resident 2. So I mean it possibly, I don't know.
I don't know. Do you? I know you're a big Resident Evil fan, but people in the chat and people on the panel, are we going to enjoy these remakes as much as we think we do? Do we think that Resident Evil 2 is just a sort of drop in the bucket that they just kind of hit while it was hot, and that was the big one to hit? Do you think that the rest of these would be annoying if they remake them? I don't know.
Yeah, I think when it comes me in general, I think when it comes to the remakes, I think it just comes down to picking your favorite flavor. Resident Evil 2 was one of the best ones. Resident Evil 2 was one of the better Resident Evil games.
Yes.
Along with the first one. So I think it really just comes down to which version they actually remake first. And that doesn't mean they need to go down chronological order and make them in the order that they bring them in. They can bring out the ones that sold the bestseller ones, and then they can trickle just through those. I mean, it really just comes down to how they actually bring them out. But me in general, I will always be in line to play a brand new game than an older game. Mm-hmm. But it is nice just to go back sometimes and just see the advancements that have been made over the last 15, 20 years and see a game like Resident Evil 2 where you could barely control your player and it was just hard.
It was.
Yeah. I mean, I think most people enjoyed that more than anything, because that was the one thing. I enjoyed the way the visuals looked and how gory it was, but I really enjoyed just how they refined the control of the game. The game just played better. And that's the one thing that I want to remember about that game, not that I was having to take 10 seconds to turn around and shoot something.
I agree. I personally think if they were to remake something, and I hope it is, even though they just sort of put out a version on Switch, is Resident Evil 4. That's the one that I want to see. I think that's the one that could be completely mind-blowing if they choose to remake that, because like you said, that game already looked good. It still looks pretty decent now.
It still looks good. Yeah, I agree.
It looks good when, even on, they just put out that Switch version. So yeah, I think that would be the one that I would absolutely love to see them remake.
Yeah, that makes two of us do it. I think everybody on the panel would agree. And, of course, closing out this topic, I have to go to Zemi, who is already standing in line at GameStop for the next Resident Evil game that he's going to play with headphones in the dark by himself at midnight. Zemi, what are your thoughts?
Midnight.
What are your thoughts on the fact that Capcom is still doing cool little things? I know you're not going to play Resident Evil, but the fact that they sent out this invite and, they let it come out to the public that, the secret invite's out there, but they're not saying what it is, and it is in fact a Resident Evil game. That much they confirmed, that it is a RE game in development, but there's no no title attached to it. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that those little tidbits that they're one of the few developers that actually still do these kind of things, or do you think that it excites the fan base?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think any hardcore Resident Evil fan out there is just chewing at the bit.
Like yourself, of course, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've played all the games. I mean, yeah, sure. No, but I think a lot of like hardcores are out there are really, really chewing at the bit to figure out what this is. And like I've said before, there's no way I'm going to play any Resident Evil single player game. However, I did play Resident Evil 5. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Actually played it multiple times. I played it like twice or three times. I really enjoyed it that much.
Because you had a co-op player though, right?
I had exactly. I had to have that moral support. I can't do it on my own.
I love it.
Otherwise, I just crumble. But if this new game is Resident Evil 8, even if it's first person, which is even scarier for me, if they add in a co-op option into that game, I will probably play it. If they don't, there's no way. However, I think it's probably more likely that they're going to come out with a remake. But I don't really know that much about Resident Evil, so that opinion doesn't really amount to very much. But yeah.
All right. Well, listen. Of course, I had to throw that in there. Of course, it's always fun to talk to them.
Remake of Operation Raccoon City.
Yeah, that's the one we want. Raccoon City, where they completely took away the good guy campaign, so you could buy it later. Yeah, go Capcom. Yeah, no, those were the days that Capcom was on the basically collecting cans on the side of the road.
Yes.
That was 2015, 2016. Not good years for the business. But I want to move on to the next topic, and I think this is going to be a good one. What is shaping up to be the biggest, no doubt the biggest release in 2019? Call of Duty Modern Warfare is bringing back the single player campaign, and obviously this is exactly what I consider the big F up, if you will, in last year's Black Ops 4. Now, obviously, we know that there was all kinds of issues with development, and that's why they wound up getting rid of campaign. But finally, they're bringing it back. But why it's important is because the franchise reboot is set between Europe and the Middle East. And the story is being told through multiple perspectives, including very highly trained Tier 1 operators and rebel freedom fighters. The missions will range from close quarters to stealth to long-range combat. And we've obviously seen what the game looks like. We've obviously seen what the Collector's Edition looks like. And you best your ass believe that BoomStick pre-ordered the night vision goggles that looks like Splinter Cell times 2. I cannot wait for that. I still have the original goggles in storage from the original Modern Warfare Collector's Edition. But you know what? Infinity Ward is aiming to capture the tone of warfare in 2019, which the developer says is teeming with moral gray areas. Modern Warfare in 2019 means the theater of war is even less defined now than it was back in the days when the first game was made. And this is coming from Infinity Ward narrative director Taylor Kurosaki. It's more complex, it's more gray, it less mimics what traditional warfare means. The story will exist independently from the first 3 Modern Warfare games, a decision the developer says was necessary to bring today's zeitgeist into the story that feels authentic and gritty. Now, despite the reset, some existing characters will in fact return, including fan favorite Captain Price, which I'm very excited about. I'm hoping that Ghost is also making a return, but there's been no confirmation on that. And while the events of the first 3 Modern Warfare titles will have been discarded from the reboot, Kurosaki says the returning characters will be largely unchanged from their originals. And he says it needs to feel like the same guy who's governed the same principles like Captain Price. Now, I'm going to go to my panel on this. Graphic God, I understand that you, of course, enjoy multiplayer, but there's something to be said about a Call of Duty when you say campaign. It's very big world explosions, very Jerry Bruckheimer stories being told, and the fact that they're rebooting the series and giving us the classic campaign that we all know and love, does that make you more likely to purchase this game?
No.
Okay, all right. Now, is there a reason for that?
I am the worst person to even talk to about a Call of Duty franchise because I've only purchased 2, which one was Ghost and Advanced. I finished the campaigns on both, barely touched the multiplayer because I'm not. I just know that if I wanted to be any good at the multiplayer in Call of Duty, I would have to be on that game 24/7 to be able to beat the 8-year-olds. And I'm just not into that. That's my problem. The campaigns are always fun, but it's never a franchise that I look for. So I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do this topic justice if you talk to me about this. So.
No, listen. Listen. I say this all the time, and I want people to understand this. Not every game is made for every gamer. I mean, just because it is the popular title doesn't mean you have to like it. You gave a valid opinion as to why you don't, and I respect it, and I think everybody in the chat respects it because we know the kind of gamer you are, and we know the kind of games that you do play, and just Modern Warfare is not your cup of tea, and that's completely understandable. But real quick, I have to shout out Crazy Gamer in the chat. He says he hopes Modern Warfare is real and gritty as he served over 15 years in the British Parachute Regiment. I salute your service, sir. Thank you for everything you've done for your country. We respect you and, of course, are happy that you're hanging out with us in the chat. And I want to move on to Gaming Forte. Now, Gaming Forte, we know you like multiplayer, but I don't necessarily know if this is the kind of multiplayer you dig. But from what we've seen, that opening where I don't know, maybe it's a 2-minute trailer where they're all coming out from behind the trees. My God, that new engine looks crisp, clean, and I cannot wait to dive into that. What are your thoughts on single-player campaign coming back big?
Oh man, I'm super excited. The Modern Warfare series was by far my favorite one of all the Call of Duties. There were some good ones in there, like Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2. I really enjoyed those, but nothing captured me like Modern Warfare did. I mean, granted, I was a lot younger then when those came out, but it was something about those. And I know Modern Warfare 3 wasn't the best of them, but it was so riveting. The single player was so compelling. I went out and actually bought that game just so I could finish the Makarov storyline because I wanted to kill that guy at the very end. And it was something that really drove me. And that was the main reason why I bought that game in the first place. Because by the time Modern Warfare 2 came out, I kind of got to the point where after playing that game so much that it was just really gimmicky. And that got to the point where I was like, man, I just don't like the way that Call of Duty is going at this point. I do like the multiplayer in this. I still think they have a lot of things going on, but it's a little bit more tempered compared to what they've been doing. But the single player, I'm 100% in just because I love those characters. I too hope that Ghost comes back because when he got taken out in the most crummy way, man. It crushed me at the end of what's the name, man. That was hurtful, but that was a very enjoyable series, and I hope he does come back. But just knowing that Soap and all of them is there, Captain Price, being the chance to run around with those guys in the single player, and it was a very enjoyable thing. So I'm super excited just to jump into that. I skipped last year's Call of Duty just because there was no single player, and normally I play Call of Duty for the multiplayer, but there's something about not having a full package when you're so used to a game having all of the flavors of the month and then something's missing that usually be's there, and then you replace it with something that I really don't too much care about, which is Battle Royale. I kind of just lost interest in the game in general. So I think this is going to be a good thing. They're bringing it back. Multiplayer reveal, it was fire.
Yeah,
So
it was.
it makes me super excited to jump back into that. But like I said, like Jay just said, it's kind of hard to compete with the 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds in that game because they have nothing but time to learn maps and everything. So, but I'm gonna try and I'm gonna do my best, and I'm super excited for that game to do when it releases.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and I agree. I probably never. I don't know how much of the multiplayer I'll play. I'm just never really a Call of Duty multiplayer kind of a dude. I would touch it, and Kill Confirmed is probably my favorite mode. That's probably the mode that I played. I enjoyed that. But we're definitely going to see about that. Nintendo Direct. I want to go to you. Modern Warfare. The fact that it's getting reboot in itself is absolutely amazing because that is by far the best in the series. The fact that finally they're doing a new graphics engine. I mean, I want to just start saying hallelujah because it's about freaking time.
It's about time,
but
yes.
but there's a couple of things. There's a couple of exciting parts about Call of Duty. Besides the new engine, besides the remake of the original, besides of Soap and Ghost and Captain Price and all these people coming back. The collector's edition looks amazing. It's going back to a way of storytelling that seemed to have been, I don't know, I don't want to say a second class citizen. That's how I felt as a player. And when they, Modern Warfare comes out, Modern Warfare 2 comes out, they're fantastic. 3, obviously, we know what happened with Infinity Ward. It imploded, right? Activision does what they do, and they did the real horrible thing of getting, Vincent Pella and his partners out of there, and the game 3 was basically a shell of its former self. And even though Black Ops 1 and 2 were great, the series has definitely taken a nosedive, in my opinion, regarding its single-player campaign. The fact that we're getting this retelling built from the ground up of the original. What are your thoughts on that, dude?
I'm gonna be with Graphic God here. I am not the biggest Call of Duty guy.
Okay.
That's just personally, never have been. But I will say this much because I've had this argument with many people on Twitter, many people in my own community that they said that they will say, "Well, campaign's not important. People who play Call of Duty only play multiplayer." Those guys that use, they always just try to give you that, like, you don't need campaign because nobody plays campaign. Like, but we are now proving here in this chat, like, everybody here is like, yeah, we want the campaign. This is vital to Call of Duty, and I've always had that argument with them. So I'm glad to see that back because I do have a lot of friends who play Call of Duty strictly for the campaign. They will not play online. They don't like playing online. Like everybody says, they can't keep up with playing online with people, so they play the campaign. When they find out that there wasn't a campaign in most of these games, newer games coming out, they weren't buying the game. I think that they saw that, which is why now they're putting it back in the game. So I'm glad to see that. But as far as me giving you an opinion on the details, not your guy.
Oh, no, that's okay. No, listen, I definitely appreciate your opinion on it. And of course, I respect every word of your statement. And rounding us out, Zemi Games, listen, it's been confirmed that Call of Duty Modern Warfare's retelling single-player campaign is going to be the most realistic in the series' history, actually rivaling No Russian, if you remember that particular level that really took the gaming media, but also the world media by storm, where you're just executing an entire airport of people. They're saying that this is the violence in this is going to trump it, but it's going to be told in a story way where it's not just senseless violence. And of course, any violence is senseless, but the way that they're going to be telling it, it's going to make sense because of the story that they're putting together. How excited are you to see this new retelling of a very classic game in the franchise?
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm super hyped. Like, I'm gonna go out, get my Doritos, get my double XP. I'm gonna murder the crap out of this game.
I love it.
All you guys talking about, I'm scared of those 11-year-old kids. I don't care. I'm a seasoned professional at Call of Duty. I will go in there and I'm going to destroy every single 11-year-old kid that's playing that game.
I love it.
I'm going to dominate. Okay. I am so excited for this game. This is probably my most hyped game so far this year. Like, yeah, I'm excited for Gears of War. I'm really, really pumped to see The Outer Worlds. But overall, I don't know what it is. It's just like from everything I've seen so far, the campaign looks amazing. I love how they're bringing back Captain Price and they're keeping him in, you know, how he is as a character. They're just doing a retelling of the story. But the multiplayer, oh my God, it looks so good.
Yeah, it
It
does.
looks terrific.
It got me excited. I'm not a multiplayer dude.
The time to kill is right on. It's perfect. The time to kill is perfect. They're adding a little bit more recoil to the guns to make it where, you know, it's harder to hit people, to kind of help combat the time to kill being a little bit lower. The way that they have their classes set up, the way that they have their operators. I mean, being able to customize your guns, like in like the new gunsmith area, like literally every single thing that I've seen from gameplay, and I've watched a lot, it just has me absolutely excited. There's not one thing that I've seen so far from Modern Warfare, multiplayer or single player, that I'm questioning or I'm somewhat worried about. I am super, super pumped for this game.
That is, well, that's great to hear, dude. And I'm excited for you, and I'm just as excited as you. And that is going to do it for today's show, folks. We got all of the topics in, and we added a few extra ones thanks to Idle Sloth dropping some megaton breaking news live on the air. So thank you again, Idle Sloth, for that information. I want to thank the 110 plus people that watched this show live. I'm going to ask that if you did enjoy this, on your way out, please hit the like button and share this on social media so others that are looking for podcasts that don't run with the gloom and doom theme, that actually talk about gaming in a way that's exciting, fun, and you have a few laughs. Please help me promote this show, because obviously that's important. I want to grow the channel. Of course, I have to thank the outstanding generosity of everyone who donated to the Super Chat. Thank you so much. It is very, very welcomed and greatly appreciated. And of course, I have to thank my outstanding panel from top to bottom. So let's get into these outros. Jay, I want to go to you first. Obviously, you are, like I said in the opening, someone that I highly respect, someone that I consider to be family, someone that I think is a community good guy that more people need to know about, not only because you're that kind of a dude, but because you do amazing work and you are a person that goes out of his way to help people. Obviously, you were called upon by several people, including myself, to help learn OBS. And, obviously Google Hangouts being removed hurt a lot of content creators. And thanks to Jay's know-how and his outstanding generosity, he helped plenty of people learn, even if it's just the basics, on what to do so we can at least produce our shows. And of course, he is an amazing, talented artist that has his own business called xboxgamerpicks.com that will be in the show notes. I highly suggest, if you're looking for an artist with skills for days, check him out. Jay, do me a favor, tell everyone where they can find you on Twitter, but more importantly, check you out on YouTube, and of course, your amazing business.
I appreciate that, Boom. That's awesome. Thank you. So you can find me on Twitter at graphic_god if you're looking for any kind of work, such as overlays, gamer pics, animations, anything. Hit me up there. I, like Boom said, I have a website called xboxgamerpicks.com where you can go and order custom gamer picks that way. And don't be confused by the name, even though it says Xbox Gamer Picks. You can use his gamer picks everywhere. I just used Xbox Gamer Picks because it was available.
Okay, good.
But so I appreciate everyone who has come to me, and like Boom said, a lot of people are having issues with the new way they have to do things. If you're having some trouble, if you need a little bit of advice, it doesn't take a very long time to learn OBS and to learn Discord, and hit me up. I'd be happy to help. Other than that, you can also find me on Tuesday nights. I have a retro gaming show called Retro Renegades, where we play old games, drink beer, and just have fun. We just shoot the shit like we're a bunch of 14-year-olds at the arcade.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I look forward to my Tuesdays just to kind of hang out and not have an agenda, just shoot the shit.
Just have fun. Gaming is fun,
Exactly.
folks.
It's supposed to be all about fun. So yeah, you can find me on YouTube under Graphic God. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Snakes in the chat is asking for a price for a pick, Jay. You know what, Snakes? Hit him up in the DM on Twitter, and he'll be able to discuss that in further detail with you. And he does have different levels. He makes them very affordable, just to give you the heads up. So, yeah, Snakes, hit him up in the DM. Jay's DM is pretty much open to everyone from what I understand. And, Jay, thanks so much for being here, dude. Greatly appreciate it. Next, the nautical gamer, known as Gaming Forte, as the Siren, as the Destiny Hunter himself. Listen, dude, love what you do on your channel. Love what you do in the community. Love what you do on the Basement Radio Arcade podcast. Please tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, check you out on your YouTube channel, subscribe, and, of course, hit that bell button, and check you out on the other shows that you are on weekly.
Right. Man, well, first of all, this is another great show. Some great gamers and individuals, very diverse in what we like. Nintendo Direct really loves Nintendo. Jay is super into those older classic games. It's been a pleasure being on the show with you guys as usual. Some of you it's been the first time, some it's been a couple of times. It's been too long. So outside of that, man, it's Gaming Forte everywhere. YouTube, Twitter. Definitely super excited to be on the show again. And I am one of those people that did go to Jay from my very first gamer pick. And the dude makes it super easy to just want to give him money, because the stuff he does, the stuff he does for his for you as a gamer to brand yourself is incredible. And you know, I was super hesitant of doing it the first time, but after seeing all these beautiful gamer pics of all these people out there, I'm like, man, I have to do it. And, you know, it was literally done. And he had a boatload of he was doing at that time. And it was literally done in like 2-3 days. And I enjoyed it all the way through that first 2 years that I used it. And I'm definitely going to go back to him again, because always looking to rebrand yourself. But outside of that, I'm going to leave you guys with this. I put up a Twitter poll yesterday, or not a poll, but just a Twitter message that kind of blew up, saying that Xbox, if you're an Xbox fan,
yes,
Xbox will win,
yes,
MPD 2020.
I love it.
November and December next year.
Confidence.
Because Ninja is going to be a big part of that. Halo is going to be an even bigger part of that, and it's going to be streamed everywhere. And we're going to see the dominance that Xbox has to bring next generation. So
can we say custom console as well?
Custom consoles and everything. So I'm telling people now, and this isn't no hot take. This is just my opinion. People can disagree with it if they want to, but Microsoft has been doing everything that I wanted them to do when it comes to their system. They're talking to the gamer in the sense that they can do what they're good at. And Halo is going to be a really big thing. It's my favorite franchise of all. And I think that's going to be the resurgence that we want from Xbox. So if you agree with that, come hit the YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel. There will be a video going up today in the next hour going over why I think Microsoft's going to win in 2020.
Nice, dude. So, good. That's breaking news. Absolutely. Well, listen, dude, it is a pleasure having you. You are a powerful community voice, even though someone on your panel, somebody on your panel had something negative to say about your opinion. But I, of course, not only did I favorite, I retweeted and I commented, and I agree with you. I think it's Halo in 2020 for President of the United States, as well as the rest of the world. I'm sorry to say, take that, put that in your pipe and smoke it. But listen, Nintendo Direct, listen, again, another gamer that I absolutely love working with. You are a bright spot in this community of darkness. Your channels are absolutely amazing. I think what you do on Twitter is second to none. I love the Let's Go. You should coin that. You should put that on a t-shirt and sell it, because I'll buy it. Let's Go is your battle cry. Tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter. More importantly, sub and support you on YouTube. Take it away, my friend.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, as Boom mentioned, I have two channels. Channel Nintendo Direct. It's where I do most of it. Is going to be live streams. There might be a podcast coming. I don't know yet. I'm really busy with this other channel he's talking about, the music channel.
Yes.
Which is the one that I really would like everybody to check out. It's called Studio Nintendo. I do metal versions of video game songs, whether it's old, new, whatever. Right now, I'm on a Fire Emblem kick. Really love that soundtrack, so I'm recreating that one. And recreating that soundtrack right now. So check that out. You can find me on Twitter at Nintendo Direct as well. No numbers, nothing in there, right there, straight up. So I really do appreciate you having me on, man. It's always fun to be on here. This is the only podcast that I'm able to come on because of my work schedule, so I always enjoy it. So thanks a lot, man.
Well, it's great. It's great to have you as always. Lots of fun. And of course, last and in absolutely no way least, he is a regular panel member. I love having him on the show. He is funny, even though he may not believe he is. Zemi Games, listen, dude, I love the banter that goes on each and every week about the scary game stuff. That's classic comedy. You can't make that stuff up. But you are a diehard gamer who enjoys what he enjoys. You do have multiple YouTube channels, and you are very active on Twitter, which come on, folks, if you follow me or anybody on this panel, head over to @Zemi Games and give this dude a follow. His numbers are too low, and he is definitely a solid community member. Tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter and check out your 2 channels, Zemi.
Well, thank you so much, Boom. Fantastic podcast as always. Great topics, great opinions. So thank you so much for that. If you guys want to, you can follow me on YouTube at Zemi Games. You can also follow me on Twitter using the same name, Zemi Games. And then I also have a second YouTube channel that I have been kind of reluctant. I just haven't really been putting a whole lot of content on, but I am eventually going to put more content on. It's called The Strange, and it's a YouTube channel where I do a lot of like top 10 lists of like paranormal stuff and just like strange things. If you want to go check out that channel, it's called The Strange. And so thank you so much, Boom.
So again, always a pleasure to have you on. I want to wish everyone a fantastic weekend. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. I had to do my police shtick. I want to close out the show with this. 2 things that my father taught me when I was a kid. 1, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. Okay? And secondly, treat others how you want to be treated. And guess what? I guarantee you're going to have a good time with that. So listen again, have a great weekend. Thanks to chat for always being awesome. Thank you again, my panel, for being absolutely outstanding. And of course, we will see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom. Take care, everybody.